As spring is approaching, that means Major League Baseball is back. The MLB has just finished up the first week of spring training, and they are implementing new rules. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Gianna Cutaia, joined by Logan Bourandas and Chris Machado. Tonight, we are going to share our thoughts on how the new rules are going to impact the 2023 season. And that's right, the World Baseball Classic is back for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, guys, so first, before we get into everything, let's talk about this season that's coming up. The MLB has decided to change some of the rules. The biggest changes are being the pitcher clock, the shift restrictions, and the bigger bases. So I want to hear what your thoughts are on that. Chris, what do you have to say?
All right, so for the shift limits, I think that's a great change. I was never a fan of the shift. This allows for more baseballs to be in play, more excitement for the fans who are watching on TV and have paid their hard-earned money to be in those seats at whatever ballpark. Same thing with the bigger bases. It was done for safety reasons with the 3-inch increase. One thing I'm very interested, though, however, with that 3-inch increase is think of how many times you see either the third baseman or the shortstop just beam a ball over to first base, right? Think of how close in a replay someone's cleat is just an inch off a bag. With this 3-inch increase, I think we're going to see a higher safe percentage at first base off of hits. One thing, though, however, I am not a fan of is this pitcher clock. And I'll start off light right now. We'll go in more in depth later. For me, I'm worried that pitchers are going to get injured a lot because I don't think that they are used to throwing this often, that quickly. And with that, it's going to be hard to see how these pitchers acclimate to the new rule. And same thing with batters getting in the batter's box. And there was a interview with McCutcheon on MLB Network. He said it best, RIP to everybody else's walk-up music.
Yeah, I think to just kind of sum it up, I will agree on most of the things you said because you summed it up really well. I think the main thing with the pitch clock, I'll add some times that we've seen in the first week of spring training. The average amount of time that it took to play an MLB game last year was around 3 hours and 10 minutes. And throughout this first week of spring training, we've seen that average drop around 30 to 40 minutes. And that's something that's a drastic change, especially for one season. I mean, Rob Manfred's been trying to cut down on the game time, and congratulations, he's done that so far, but it comes at a cost. And Chris mentioned some of the prices that the players have to pay in terms of what kind of changes for this rule. But the casual baseball fan, it benefits them, but the diehard fan who goes out to watch a game and kind of already used to that slower pace, it definitely kind of changes the way that a viewer of the game sees the game because it goes a lot faster. And obviously it goes a lot faster, but just so many things change in terms of the players and all that stuff. So that's, I think, the biggest change that we're going to see come this season.
Yeah, and Logan, you did mention how the changes are for the fans, for the viewers. That's what the MLB is targeting. But you guys both bring up great points that it is going to affect the players. So, Logan, can you go more in depth of how you think these rule changes are going to affect the players?
Yeah, I think I'll focus more on the shift. I think that's going to cause probably the biggest change for the players this season, and we've definitely kind of seen a drop in average for the power hitting left-handed hitters. And now that the shift is kind of going back to now that the shift is not going to be a thing, it affects the Joey Gallos, the Anthony Rizzos, the Kyle Schwarbers, Jeff McNeils, guys that have been shifted on pretty much every single at-bat. And it makes the game a little bit easier for them in a way because now that fielders don't have to stack the right side all the way, the averages of some of these players are going to drastically go up. And I think that in terms of when we look at some changes that the rules can cause, it's hard to kind of imagine a change as drastic as that, raising a batting average for a player by a hefty number of points because a big strategy aspect of the game is being taken away.
Yeah, and for me, now I'm going to go more in depth with this pitch clock. Just because, like I said, the injuries to start. I'll start with that. Like I said, pitchers aren't used to throwing this fast this often, and I think that really hurts baseball strategy. You know, what pitch is going to be thrown next. It just ruins all of that. And I hope that pitchers don't get injured having to throw more often, especially in the Tommy John area, the elbow surgery. I hope that doesn't happen. And another reason I really, really don't like this rule, and that I think it's even probably going to ruin games, and I really hope not as an avid baseball fan, We saw it already spring training. Manny Machado for the San Diego Padres already with the first incident getting the strike call. And then we saw it was the Atlanta Braves going against the Boston Red Sox. It was a 3-2 count. The game was tied 6-6, bottom of the ninth. We know in a regular season game that can be a miracle situation for a walk-off grand slam. But just because, I don't know the name of the hitter at the moment, but just because he didn't look directly at the pitcher when 8 seconds was on the clock, strike gets called, game is over, and Boston goes away with the win. So I think the reason there wasn't a lot of social media outrage is because it was a spring training game. But could you imagine if that was a regular season game or Game 7 of the World Series and that's how it ended? I think the pitch timer has got to go before it's too late.
Yeah, you guys definitely bring up some great points about these new rules, but enough with the new rules for the MLB. Let's talk about how the World Baseball Classic is back. The last time these games were played were in 2017. Supposed to happen in 2021, but the COVID pandemic hit, so it was postponed. And now 2023, here comes the game. So Chris, let's start with you. What teams are you most looking forward to watching?
Well, personally, I'm going to keep this short, sweet, and simple. I'm looking forward to watching Team Puerto Rico. With names like Francisco Lindor, Javier Baez, Eddie Rosario, these absolute all-star players, how can you not be excited to watch Puerto Rico play in the World Baseball Classic? And one of the best closers right now in the game had his best career season, Edwin Diaz for the New York Mets, Mr. Trumpets at Citi Field. He's a closer for this Puerto Rico team as well. So with the World Baseball Classic rules now limiting pitchers to 65 pitches, then 85, then 95 as the tournament goes on, it's going to be interesting to see how these teams utilize that bullpen. But I'm really looking forward to seeing those All-Stars play for Puerto Rico, and especially to see how Edwin Diaz is going to close out some games.
I'm also going to kind of keep it short and sweet, and I've been told I look too much on the camera, so when I talk about Team Dominican Republic, the roster's going to be up there, some of the names that you could see, and you could see just for yourself how talented this team is going to be. Names like Manny Machado, Julio Rodriguez, all Rafael Devers, Vlad Guerrero Jr., all big parts of the lineup. And then you take a look at the rotation led by NL Cy Young winner Sandy Alcantara, and this pitching staff also has 4 members of the reigning World Series champion Houston Astros on it, along with Christian Javier, who played a big part in that no-hitter in the World Series last year, and Gregory Soto, another big part of the pitching staff as well. Just the star power on this Dominican Republic team. They're looking very stacked, trying to get their first title since 2013, and the U.S. won the last one. The U.S. is a very talented team as well, but the Dominican Republic, in my mind, is the team that could probably give the U.S. the best run for their money.
Yeah, both those teams you guys mentioned will be great to see how they play for this World Baseball Classic. We will just have to wait to see how the World Baseball Classic plays out and what rules from the spring training receive the most backlash from the fans, players, and managers. For Logan Bourandas and Chris Machado, I'm Gianna Cutaia. Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. Have a great night.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.